morning, everyone, and welcome to this, our 11th Ordinary Council meeting for 2025. I'll commence by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet, the Butchla people, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Opening prayer. Let us pray together. Each of us, according to our individual beliefs, grant to this council wisdom, understanding, and sincerity of purpose for the good governance of the community. Disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest? Yep. Councillor Farage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For a petition that will be tabled today, I'll be leaving the room, and also for item 12.7, as I have a declarable conflict of interest pertaining to my fiance's ownership of a private caravan park.
Okay. Are there any further disclosures of interest? No? We'll move to mayoral minutes. Item 4.1, condolence motion for Mr. Ray Nicol. As everyone knows, Ray was killed last week early in the morning whilst walking on the Esplanade. Ray was a very valued member of the community, somebody who contributed in many different ways, who lived a very full and active life. As an example, of how you can contribute to the community and help those around you. He had more than 30 years experience in aquatics in our region. He began his career with the Harvey Bay City Council at the Aquatic Centre here in Harvey Bay, working as a plant operator, ensuring pool operations, plant room, and mechanical services were safe, reliable, and fit for learners and the public. He played a pivotal role building and developing the program pool for the Learn to Swim initiatives and in managing the school swimming programs and the swim school coordination. He played a pivotal role in so much of what happened there in our pools, in terms of getting young people into the pool in a safe way and learning to swim and keeping people active. Approximately 10 years ago, he transferred to the Maryborough Aquatic Centre, where he expanded his role mentoring the team, Learn to Swim instructors, swim coordinators, triathlon coaching, plant room operations staff, and became a very well-known public figure in the local aquatics community. Ray was also very active in the broader community. He helped during the 2022 floods alongside staff in emergency pool operations and support. His mentoring of staff means his influence extends beyond those he directly taught. There are people now teaching new staff there who gained their skills through Ray's mentorship, his kindness, and his expertise. And his engagement with triathlon and an active lifestyle extended very much into the broader community. He was registered to compete in the Harvey Bay Hunty on the weekend, just after he passed away. His connection to our community ran so deep that it's really impossible to measure how far his legacy and his contribution goes. Over those years, his kindness, his guidance, and his dedication spread throughout our community, particularly for the children of our community in learning to swim, their parents, their staff, community members, and leaving an example and a legacy of how to live a very full and active life. Do you want to say?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to add that for the condolences for Ray, I had several years of swimming at the town pool in the very early mornings, and it was always a pleasure to see Ray there. He was there with the swim squad, and it's just it's a shock to hear that he's gone and won't be there. I was only there a couple of weeks ago with my kids in the afternoon and got to have a chat with him briefly, and you just never know when these sort of things happen, and they are a shock to the community. And from the times having a chat with Ray at the pool in the mornings, and he'd always be so encouraging to myself, to the squad, and you could see how much he meant to all of the staff at the pool. And so no, he will be deeply missed there, and obviously in his own family and friend circles. And I just express my condolences to all of those that knew Ray personally.
Thank you. I'll put the motion that the Fraser Coast Regional Council expresses its deep sorrow at the tragic passing of Ray Nicol and places on record our sincere appreciation for his public service and contributions to the community over many years. All in favour? That's carried unanimously. Please now stand for a minute's silence. Thank you. Item 5.1 is confirmation of the October minutes. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Farage, second Councillor Govers. Goovers. Gover.
You're looking smart, Mr. Mayor.
I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 5.2, the special meeting for October, pages 19 to 20. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Whelan, second Councillor Farage. Put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 5.3, the special meeting for the 29th of October, pages 21. Councillor Cosgrove, you're moving this? Yep. Councillor Truscott, seconding. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 6.1, the open resolutions register, pages 23 to 32. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Phil Truscott, seconded Councillor Farage. Any speakers or questions? The motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 7.1, the CEO's verbal reports.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There were two people that presented today at committee presentations. The first speaker was Mr. Chris Mizzi, who requested that the council invest $20,000 towards Rebecca Mizzi's travel and other essential costs to enable Rebecca to attend the North Florida Junior Golf Foundation Tour during the 26-27 season. The second speaker was Ms. Sue Brooks, who requested that the council consider the two petitions to be tabled at the council meeting later today and online social media commentary during its deliberations on the future of the Torquay foreshore. That's my verbal report, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a mover that council note the verbal reports? Councillor Burns, seconded Councillor Chapman. Any speakers or questions? Put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Deputations, there's no deputations. Petitions, are there any petitions? Councillor Chapman? Oh, sorry, hang on, just allow time for Councillor Farage to leave the room.
Having a fight it goes first. Mine's smaller.
Yeah, Sarah will come back. Sarah will come back for yours.
Yeah, because yours are more.
You're right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors. I've got two petitions here this morning. The first petition is from Lorna Webster, and with 8,600 signatures. And the petitions where the undersigned urge the Fraser Gas Regional Council to keep the Torquay Caravan Park open, proceed with the planning upgrades and protect the vital part of the Harvey Bay history, tourism, economy and community. Close the park for redevelopment to a different use would mean losing a unique part of Harvey Bay, its heritage, and could harm the local economy. I'd like to move that the petition be received and referred to the Chief Executive Officer for consideration and a report to Council.
Is there a second for that? Councillor Paul Truscott. So everybody's got the motion that the petition be received and referred to the CEO, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, CEO for a report to Council. Moved Councillor Chapman, seconded Councillor Paul Truscott. Any speakers or questions?
Just a matter, no, you can't speak again for a petition. In section 7.2.
There's none anyway, so we don't need it. There's no debate on it, but yeah, let's ask if there's any questions.
Yes, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I've got a second petition here. It's Save the Torquay Caravan Park from Ms. Sue Brooks. And this one has got 3,773 signatures on it. And it's virtually the same sort of wording, Mr. Mayor, that for the first petition.
Is this the electronic one?
This is the electronic one. Thank you. And I'd like to move that the petition be received and referred to the Chief Executive Officer for consideration and a report to Council under section 7.6.2 under the standing orders.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Sanderson. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Scott, could you try and get Sarah back in? Okay. Councillor Truscott.
Yes, Yes, I've got a petition here by Mr Hose from 38 Currajong Way, Tanana, about removing a tree on that near that address because it's causing an aesthetic value to the place. This is on 14 signatures, and I would vote that it would be received and sent to the report to the CO for an answer. A letter only.
We can't do that. Under 7.6, you can be that the petition be received, or the petition be received and referred to a committee or the CEO, as was just done, for consideration and report to council, or the petition not be received because it is deemed invalid.
Just, Mr
So
Mayor.
if you did the petition be received, I think would do what you want.
Yeah, that's right, Mr Mayor. If the petition's received, it's recorded in the minutes and it's referred to myself to deal with as ordinary correspondence.
Yep, that's all. Okay, so let's move the petition be received. Is there a seconder for this? Councillor Chapman. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Are there any further petitions? We'll move to item 10.1, informal meetings, record of matters discussed. Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Farage, seconded Councillor Govers. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 10.2, the Water and Waste Services Advisory Committee meeting minutes, pages 45 to 49. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Byrne. Is there a seconder? Councillor Cosgrove. Any speakers or questions? Do we often find king brown snakes there?
No, that's the first time in my tenure. I'm not sure what happened before.
That's good, yeah. So we moved it somewhere safe?
Yes, we make sure it's safe there. Yeah. That's why we abandoned the workplace when we found that.
Yeah. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 10.3, Environment and Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting minutes, pages 50 to 58. Is there a mover for this? Councillor O'Keefe. Seconder, Councillor Cosgrove. Any speakers or questions? Put the motion. All in favour? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 10.4, the Arts, Culture and Heritage Advisory meeting minutes, 59 to 62. Moved Councillor Govers, seconded Councillor Truscott. Any speakers or questions? Put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 10.5, the Mary to Bay Rail Trail Advisory meeting minutes, pages 63 to 67. So Councillor O'Keefe's moving this. Is there a second? Councillor Farage seconding. Any speakers or questions? Can I ask what the progress is on the new body, the advisory committee?
Defer to the acting director of the
Thank you,
tourism.
Mayor, through the chair. So we had the first meeting of the advisory committee after the last meeting, and there was agreement to undertake those meetings every 6 months.
And do we have a membership set for it yet?
We do have members, and I can, if you would like me to find that information,
Yeah.
I can provide that to you.
Will it be pretty much the same members as the committee?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's my understanding. Thank you.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.1.1, council meeting attendance for December. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Chapman, seconded Councillor Farage. Yeah, Councillor Chapman?
Mr Mayor, the meeting on the council executive meeting presentations. The community meeting, our next meeting is,
10th.
to be held in Maryborough.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder with what's coming up at that meeting, if we could reschedule that back to Harvey Bay.
Yeah, we're dealing with that.
We have a motion about-
Councillor Trust got some motion, yeah.
I just thought that might have been a way to tidy it up here.
Well, this motion doesn't identify the locations.
Yeah.
So it'd still be, I think Councillor Truscott's motion is about changing the location, not the date. So, yeah, it wouldn't interfere with that.
Yeah, right. Leave us there.
Perhaps, Mr Mayor, if I, no, I'll just leave it, that's fine. Sorry.
Yeah, leave us there.
Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried 10-1. The next item is amendment to leased areas, McVie Park Sporting Fields, pages 70 to 73. Is Is there a mover for this? Councillor O'Keefe, seconded Councillor Farage. Any speakers or questions? Put the motion, all in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. The next item is 11.2.2, request for new leases, community organisations, 74 to 78. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Chapman? And Councillor Cosgrove? Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion, all in favour?
Sorry, Mr Mayor, wasn't there an amendment to this one, or was that withdrawn?
I think you might be thinking about the Glenwood one. So this is North
That
Railroad.
last meeting, sorry, I
That's right.
apologise.
Yeah, so I'll put the motion, all in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.2.3, request for new leases, Glenwood Community Associations. Councillor Truscott?
Yes, I've got an amended motion. I could go on and on about this for a long time, but there's a couple of changes I will summarise for councillors rather than go every word. First of all, the women's shed, to move that as per this diagram, which I think you've all got now. They have a section over on
Are
the
you
other
seeking
side.
to table that?
Yes,
Yeah, so you're moving you table the map?
table the map, which is a slight change, but all councillors have received this.
All in favour that it be tabled? That's carried.
To move them over to the other side, because they have street access there. It's a very quiet street, and there are conditions on it, e.g., for example, they have to get money to fix up the shed within 3 years, etc. That's number one. Number two was the men's shed. On the original recommendation only had one shed for the men's shed. One shed allocated for the men's shed. I have always sort of promised, that's not the right word, to give them the bigger area because it's very dangerous where they work in a very small area with lathes and all that sort of stuff, to make them have them 2 sheds. So I've asked Sydney if he could change that to 2 sheds and have the entire area. There's always been saying that there's other equipment in that other shed, but that just has to be moved. This is the prime time to change it while we're doing the new leases, to give them 2 sheds so they can spread out a bit and even close it in so it's a lot safer when they're working with that very dangerous equipment. Now, number 3 is I could go through all the reasons I'm doing this, but I've had so many phone calls and emails about the current group not looking at the community at heart. So I've just asked that the existing building be put out to tender to see if anyone else wishes to lease it. And that's the third one, which is point 4 on the amended motion. That's it.
Is there a seconder for this? Councillor Paul Truscott, do you wish to speak to it?
That's why I've said no.
Can I ask a question? Because the one that stands out for me the most, I mean, I don't know, I can't see exactly what you're doing with the other sheds, but particularly with the Glenwood Community Association and the Glenwood Community Hall, what other organisation do you think there could be? I mean, that organisation is quite literally established to handle this lease.
Well, there are other organisations that may want to take it over, and the reason I'm doing this is because they're not keeping the community at heart. They're keeping people out. They've kicked out 2 community groups which are bigger than them and said there's not enough room. So anyway, they might be the ones that take it over. I was all suggesting is put it out to lease, tender, so that they might come back and say they're the ones that get it. That's all.
Councillor O'Keefe?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My question's to the Acting Director of Organisational Services. Can you please help me understand the difference between the officer's recommendation and the amended recommendations, specifically in point 3 and 4? The reason that I ask that is because 3 and 4 are all red, so it's substantially different. So could you please, it looks that way, so could you please advise as to whether it is substantially different, what the difference is?
Yep, thank you for the question, through the chair. It is
substantially different, as you said. So the officer's report identified that the men's shed have a small component and the CC have a lease over the entire area and the building. So this proposes that we go out to expressions of interest for the building and the land, and it also proposes that the men's shed take over the second shed, which was a future proposal from the men's shed and the GCC, which is the reason why it's a 3-year lease, to allow them to build a different shed to move the men's shed into the other shed. That's a little bit complicated.
It is very complicated. I remember we had a workshop where we were talking about harmonising lease agreements so we don't have these instances where we're making these decisions on the fly. And I don't remember us talking about... I remember us talking about the officer's recommendation, but the amendment never came up in discussions.
That's correct, I think, yes.
Councillor Chapman.
Mr Mayor and councillors, I'd actually like to speak on this motion. I've been heavily involved in a lot of community groups, and actually that old hall that's there, I actually drew it up for the Tyro Council and to relocate it there. And it was actually relocated there for the community, so that all the community can use it. And I look at community groups and I look at especially Glenwood, and I look at the growth that they've got there with the new bypass past the Tyro, past Gympie, and the values and everything of their land. And then I look at groups that virtually that can't seem to work together, and there's people who have been put outside of the building that they can't use the community building. And I'm sure there's a lot of time that building just stays with no one in it. So I really feel that I mean that there's saying no one in it, there's a body that look after it, but it's the doors are shut because, and there's times when people could use it. I really feel that all community groups right across the whole region should really look at harmonising what they are, because all they're really doing is affecting their own areas of what's happening. And I think that this might be a great opportunity for everyone to have a step back and have a look at what their what's been achieved and what's been done, and it may be a great result that people all come together and work together for the betterment of Glenwood. The men's shed, I think that's a great opportunity to expand the men's shed. The men's shed, we're looking at putting a toilet block in their little shed that they've got now. And working around lathes and working around routers and machinery like that, it is actually dangerous to be working around a machine when you haven't got clear space. Now that is actually what's happening in this area, is they're actually using this as a work area but also a storage area. And then you've got people working in there in the same environment. It is just, to me, I feel that the storage has to be moved out into another shed and give them clear open workspace. And I commend Councillor Truscott. He's put a lot of time into this region, this area down there, and a lot of time. And I just feel that this might be a great opportunity for the whole region for this area to come together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll speak against the motion. Councillors, we spent a significant amount of time in a concept forum and workshop discussing lease arrangements. Not this one specifically, but a broad range of leasing arrangements. We workshopped a way forward. The officer's recommendation, as I read it, is pretty much what was discussed in the workshops, an outcome that was discussed in the workshops, and I support the officer's recommendation. I don't agree with continual amendments on the fly. That wasn't agreed to at that concept forum or the workshop, so I'll be sticking with the officer's recommendation as agreed at the workshop.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've got a quick question. I'm not exactly sure who it will be to, possibly the director. is there any reason why the other groups that are in the area could not volunteer with the current committee and put their hand up and take a position on that committee and drive this from a different angle?
I can answer that. Is that all right?
Well, can we ask somebody impartial first? No? Okay.
Well,
One of the complaints of it is they don't let people in. And then what happens is the people that wanted to lead it don't want to do it anymore. So they actually don't let people in. They did tell me that they had to have a blue card. The council told them to have a blue card, but that is not correct. And they just stopped members joining, so they won't, which I think that's a good idea, to change the executive. But they just won't let them in.
Sorry. Am I allowed to ask more than one question?
Yeah.
Yep. My other question was probably more around the fact that do we have any evidence of groups being not allowed to use the building and not allowed to hire the space and all the rest of it under the current GCC?
You want me to answer that too? Or?
so, I'm, through the chair, I'm not aware of any evidence, but I'll just refer to the Acting Director of Organisational Services to see if they're aware, he's aware.
Yeah, no, I'm not aware of any formal conversations.
Councillor Cosgrove, was that the end of the last question?
I think so.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question to presumably the Acting Director Organisational Services. Noting that we didn't have an opportunity to fulsomely explore Councillor Truscott's motion at the agenda forum. So in the broadest possible terms, could you flag any issues that you foresee with this motion in terms of issues that would be created for council that the councillors should be aware of before deciding?
Thanks for the question. Through the chair, the only issue I see is the additional shed for the men's shed is currently the storage shed for the GCC. So in approving the lease, it would be more likely that we'd have to ask them to remove all their stuff from that shed. So I'm not quite sure what they store in there. I think there's some Christmas boxes and that sort of thing. But certainly the idea was that the GCC, and I'll give you a bit of a history if you like. So if you remember the shed that council approved under the grant application, so that was to be built by the GCC to store all of their additional equipment, and then they were going to give that shed then to the men's shed to explore, to make a bigger area. So they gave up the shed. The new GCC have said that they want to re-establish a grant for a new shed for themselves, and then they would then move their stuff into that shed and then give that shed to the men's shed.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, could I, if it's permissible, ask Councillor Truscott to point and share at the tabled document that's up on the screen, just so I can get my head around, because I haven't seen this with the drawing on it. Might need to scroll down a little bit to tell us what each section is.
This blue section here, on the original recommendation, was half. Now,
That's men's shed.
it's the men's shed, this one here. The women's shed was going to go here, there, and it's going to go here, because it floods the back area, but the front area doesn't. Simple as that.
Thank you.
The green is the GCC. Yeah. And, we have, on the priority projects, we have a $6 million request there for the new shed. Until that time, the GCC should have a new shed, that's correct, and I'd certainly help them get it. Should they be? Or, whatever.
Perhaps my question is to the Director, are there any other Glenwood community organisations that would be suitable to tenant the site?
Thanks for the question, through the chair. I'm not aware of the particular groups in the area. I guess we deal with more the leasing component. We haven't gone out for expressions of interest or delve into what other groups.
And because that would be standard practice, so for example, so this is the Glenwood Community Association is linked with the Glenwood Community Centre, in the same way that when the Hart Bay Neighbourhood Centre's facility comes up for lease, we're going to be going to the Hart Bay Neighbourhood Centre organisation. Yeah.
The general history is that we just review the leases with the current occupants.
And have we, in our discussions with the organisation, have we given them any indication that something like this might happen, that we don't renew their lease?
No, I've given them.
John? Councillor Wheeland?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the question of the CEO, I'm not comfortable making decisions when we haven't attempted to get any data or evidence around some of these other groups. I actually don't have a problem with what you're proposing, but I'd like to know a little bit more. Are we able to push this back to next month's meeting, gather some of that information and bring it to a briefing or a concept forum?
So you'd need to move an alternate motion that the matter be referred back to the Chief Executive Officer for further consultation and engagement with councillors.
Would it be reasonable through the Mayor to get that back to next month so we're not pushing it off to next year or anything, or is that just
procedural motion?
No, can't go on.
The next council meeting is December, so
isn't that long away?
So I think the agenda goes out 1st of December.
So one more question to Councillor Truscott. If we pushed it back a month or two, will that cause further issues, do you think?
I do have evidence, and without trying to disagree with the CEO, but he has had emails about other people wanting to take it over, either CC or direct, I'm not sure. And I have copies of those. I didn't want to send them all out to councillors because there's pages and pages and pages of it. That's why I tried to summarise it this morning.
Okay.
So I do have evidence of other people wanting it, by the way.
Are there any further speakers or questions?
So it's sort of foreshadowing.
Are you foreshadowing a motion, Councillor Wheeland?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you want to summarise what?
So the foreshadowed motion, should Councillor Truscott's motion be unsuccessful, is that the matter be referred back to the Chief Executive Officer for further consultation and engagement with councillors.
Okay. Any further, Councillor O'Keefe?
And then if it's lost, it goes to the officer's recommendation.
Somebody would have to foreshadow that, so we can only have one foreshadowed
I'll
motion.
foreshadow that then.
Well, we can only deal with one
Okay,
foreshadowed
so,
motion
yeah,
at a
that's
time.
right.
So if Councillor Truscott's motion loses, and then we're dealing with Councillor Whelan's one, at that point you can foreshadow a motion. Yep. Any further speaker? Councillor Cosgrove?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll probably vote against the motion on the table, but I'll speak in favour of it because I actually agree with the ethos that we need to get way better with leasing and making sure that groups who get the privilege of a lease over a community building, of which the amount are very limited considering how many groups there are, they need to play nice and they need to share. But nothing upsets me more than us giving a lease to, and apologies if this is a real group, but like the Fraser Coast, Rainbow Wool Knitting Society for a shed, and they use it once per month, but are completely exclusive about anyone else using the building. We need to get that out of our leasing system. I think it's a huge body of work, and almost mind-boggling to try to get better at that. How we share sporting fields, all these things are very important. So the ethos, I think, of Councillor Phil Truscott's motion, I completely agree with, that we want groups sharing and playing nice. I just think we need a little bit more clarity around what the exact machinations of this particular motion and what it would mean. But yes, in terms of the principles and values behind what you're trying to achieve, Councillor Truscott, wholeheartedly agree. In saying that, I'll be probably not supporting this motion and supporting the foreshadowed motion to get some more information on it.
Any further speakers or questions? Councillor Farage?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to echo the words of Councillor Cosgrove, Councillor Truscott, you have done an immense amount of work on this, but I do think we just need to go back and really understand it before we make a decision on it. And I think too, within this process, look at the ways in which, like Councillor Cosgrove said, we do lease to communities and perhaps put a bigger weight on our expressions of interest if they are willing to co-locate with others, because we have so many fantastic community groups, but not as many spaces for them to locate in. So I think that's a separate body of work to this, but I will be voting against this, but probably supporting Councillor Whelan's foreshadowed motion.
Councillor Byrne?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I agree wholeheartedly with what my colleagues have said, and having witnessed the fantastic community that Glenwood is, I think we would be doing it a disservice if we didn't spend a little bit of time on this motion and make sure that everybody is on the same page, because it's a great hall, it's a great facility, it's a growing community, and I think that it would be a shame to not see the building utilised to its best capacity. So I'm quite happy to, like I said, in my heart support this motion, but I'd like a little bit more time. So yeah, so I think that if we can get it back to the December meeting, I think we'll have a satisfactory result then.
Is that
Thank you.
possible? Get it back for the December meeting?
Probably not. I defer I won't be CEO after in 2 days' time, so I defer to the Acting Director of Organisational Services, because it would envisage that it would be a requirement that we have the opportunity for councillors to have that discussion. And I believe that this Monday's discussion is fully, this Monday's briefing session is fully taken up with consideration of the results of the Torquay foreshore surveys. I doubt that there would be an opportunity to get that back by the 3rd and on the agenda by the 3rd of December, but I'll defer to the Acting Director.
I think we'll have to discuss it next Monday if you want to get it on to the December.
Councillor Gorbis and Councillor Byrne.
Through the chair to Councillor Truscott, is it time critical? Can it be held off to the new year?
It's not time critical for me, no.
Okay.
I mean, I can give you all the evidence. I'll send you all the emails that I got and you can read them.
Thanks.
I mean, there's a lease ending soon. When's the Hall's lease?
It's already
It's already expired.
Oh, it's already
Mr. Mayor.
expired, yeah.
They're on a month-to-month lease, Mr. Mayor.
So January would be out of the question.
No. January would be more appropriate.
Okay.
Councillor Byrne? Councillor Truscott?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm fine if that happens. I just thought I'd check, was there something that we said at a previous meeting, I think in Maryborough, might have been a couple of months ago, about them having to get a lease before the end of this calendar year in order to have an agreement or something?
There was some sort of lease, there's a mower tied to this.
Yeah, so I just thought, if it is going into the next year, I don't know if that's going to...
I think the motion was on entering a lease, then they would be able to...
Yes, that's all I'm saying. There's no date.
I'm pretty sure there was something about this calendar year in it.
And to be all they
It
wanted
needs
is
to be investigated.
Yeah, we can tidy that up in December if we needed that, I guess, yeah, if there's some sort of technicality for the mower.
Yeah, just thought
Yeah,
I'd
all right.
better check.
Any further speaks or questions? I'll be voting against this motion. We do need to tidy up the leases and make sure that this public land in the centre of Glenwood is fully achieving the best possible outcomes before we enter into 3 and 10-year leases and do this other stuff. I think at the very least, Glenwood Community Centre Incorporated deserves a right of reply before we take this step to, which is really unprecedented. As I said, we wouldn't do this to the Harvey Bay Neighbourhood Centre or other organisations that are exactly established to be the tenant, and people know them as being the entity that is established to be the tenant of that community centre. Are there any further speaks or questions? You have a right of reply, Councillor Truscott.
I've withheld a lot of information that is very personal, personal not to me, to the other people. So that's probably why my point isn't strong enough, because I did not bring out all the negative stuff. But I can do that on the emails. Thank you.
Okay, I'll put the motion moved by Councillor Phil Truscott, seconded Councillor Paul Truscott. If this is voted down, then we move to Councillor Whelan's foreshadowed motion. Do you just want to read out what the foreshadowed motion is so everyone realises?
I haven't written down, but I believe it'll be that the matter be referred to the Chief Executive Officer for further consultation and engagement with councillors.
All right, so that's the foreshadowed motion, which we don't deal with unless...
That the matter be referred.
We check the map as well.
Okay, I'll put the motion, moved by councillor Phil Truscott, seconded councillor Paul Truscott. All in favour? 2, 3, 4. All opposed? 7. That's lost 7-4. Is there a seconder for councillor Whelan's motion? Councillor Byrne. I notice there's a foreshadow motion, which is the recommendation. Yep. Do you wish to speak to your motion?
Just briefly, Mr Mayor, I wanted to say to councillor Truscott also, see what you're trying to do. I've heard you speak about this a lot. I just want to make sure, again, that we optimise it, we understand exactly what we're voting for. So I'll echo what a lot of the other councillors said, that we, see what you're trying to do. But ultimately, duty of care and due diligence, I want to really get on top of it before I make that decision. It's, especially when you're looking at 3 plus 10 plus possibly 10. So that's all, thanks.
Any further speakers or questions? Okay, so we've got the foreshadowed motion, which is back to the recommendation. So if this motion, which is moved by councillor Whelan, second councillor Byrne, is lost, can we deal with the foreshadowed motion? I'll put the motion, which is what's on the screen right now. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried 10-1. We'll go to item 11.2.4, request for new lease, the Commonwealth of Australia through the Bureau of Meteorology at the Maryborough Airport, pages 87 to 90. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Truscott. Is there a seconder? Councillor Farage. Any speakers or questions? Maybe good tenants?
That's right.
No speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.2.5, new policy, child safety and well-being, pages 91 to 100. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Farage, seconded Councillor O'Keefe. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.2.6, provision of password manager, pages 101 to 103. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Byrne, seconded Councillor Farage. Any speakers or questions? Put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.3.1, tender for nature-based tourism activation at the Harvey Bay Botanic Gardens, pages 104 to 114. Moved Councillor Cosgrove, seconded Councillor Whelan. Any speakers or questions? I'll speak in favour of this. Harvey Bay Botanic Gardens now for decades has been a really important, vibrant space in our community. It is at heart a Botanic Gardens, a place of relaxation and contemplation, but it's also a recreational space. It's a place that's evolving, and we see that in different ways. The Chinese gardens opened 10 or 12 years ago. The Orchid House a quarter of a century ago, and other unique aspects that grow and develop. And this activation, by getting more people in there, particularly younger people, an activity. The playground, which we added a few years ago, is incredibly popular. We just launched yesterday this year's Winter Wonderland. The neighborhood center is doing a lot of really good stuff in terms of activation in Easter and Christmas. And this is the next stage in that, in ensuring that the Botanic Gardens continues to serve the community in valuable ways. And I really think this is going to be a great step for our community and ensure that it, as a parkland, it is a wonderful place to visit. Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to echo those sentiments and add that you're right, it's not just, the Botanical Gardens is not just a place for contemplation, it's a place of learning, it's a place of play even. So yeah, highly supportive of this, of activating the Botanical Gardens and maximising the full potential of what we've got down there. It's a magnificent, beautiful place that we've got right in the heart of a very busy city space. And the more people we can get in there to discover the Botanical Gardens, the better.
Councillor Byrne.
Yeah, I'd just like to speak for this as well. I think this is going to be quite literally a game changer in land-based tourism for our economy. I think it's going to be something that we're screaming out for activities for our youth and our younger people, but this is something that can be used by all ages, and I think it's going to absolutely activate that space to a point where we're just going to see so many more people using this space. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to see it happen, actually, if you didn't pick up on that.
Councillor Chapman?
Thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors. I'd just like to thank Tree Climb South Australia Proprietary Limited for looking at the Fraser Coast, because I feel that this will be a node, another tourism node, which we really need for our region to draw people here. And but I also look at the botanical gardens, what a beautiful set we've got down there. But this will give the public the opportunity to climb through the nature, and the nature will be protected, and it'll actually open up that space. And I'd just like to say that the staff from the council, the work that they do in the botanical gardens is outstanding, and I do not feel that the gardens is used to its full potential. As I look at gardens in Toowoomba and different places, how they're really public are in them a lot. This will actually draw the public in as an attraction. And once again, I'd like to really thank Tree Climb for taking the confidence in coming to this region and bringing this to our area. Thank you. And the closest one, Mr Mayor, is Logan, will be around. So this will be outside of the metropolitan area. Thank you.
Councillor Fraser?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to echo the sentiments of my colleagues, first of all, I wanted to thank our council staff that have been involved in this project. It's not been easy and it's taken quite some time, but they've gotten there and they've persisted and they've worked really hard to help bring another fantastic tourism asset to our community, so I really appreciate that. And also really excited to see this part of the Botanical Gardens being used. It is such a special space, whether people take their high school formal photos there, whether we plant centenary trees for people turning 100 in our community, whether you go in there to see the orchid house or the Chinese garden or all the really special facets of the Botanical Gardens, this will just add to that fantastic space that we have, and I really, really look forward to seeing it well utilised, and by not just tourists but also local people, schools and other groups utilising this space, and it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Councillor Wheeland?
Yeah, I'm speaking in favour of this as well. First I want to thank our previous and current Director of Strategy and Community and your teams. This is a wonderful outcome. Low impact nature-based tourism, and it's just as beneficial to the local community. It's fantastic. I think it's going to be highly successful, and hopefully we can use that as a catalyst for other nature-based tourism. I think that's one of our biggest strengths in the region. So just pat on the back. Great job. Thank you very much for the work you've done.
Councillor Cosgrove?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Chair. Surprised I don't have to use my right of reply because there's no speakers against this one. Look, it's been consistently identified within our tourism industry and space that our two greatest strengths are the whales and Gari, but we do actually have an over-reliance on those two offerings, and we are screaming out for mainland tourism product. And this is an amazing, amazing opportunity that, to have Tree Climb not pick Bundaberg or not pick Gympie, to pick the Fraser Coast and Hervey Bay. The same thing happened with Atlas Events with the Hervey Bay Half Marathon. We are a region that is being identified as a great place to invest in events and tourism product. Long may it continue to grow, because whilst we should always lean into our great strengths of the whales and Gari, we need to continue to grow mainland tourism product to make sure that people don't just go to the island or don't just go on water, they come to mainland, Fraser Coast and Hervey Bay and spend their dollars here. So this is a fantastic outcome. Well done to the staff, well done to Tree Climb for having the good taste, as I said, to pick the perfect region for this opportunity. And it's going to be fantastic to see an amazing space, which I think is probably criminally underutilised at this point, really come alive. I think this will at minimum 10x the amount of people you see go through Botanic Gardens now, so which it might spoil some of my lunch breaks when I take golden chicken down there, but nonetheless, it will be great to see. It will be great to see people, particularly young people and school groups and the like, heading in there and experiencing the Botanic Gardens from a whole new angle. So well done to the staff, and thanks to True Climb for their interest.
Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. The next item is 11.3.2, the Community Grant Round 2 Assessment Recommendations. Councillor Govers is moving the recommendation. Councillor Farage seconding. Any speakers or questions? Councillor Byrne?
Just once again, great to see our local communities putting their names out there and receiving these grants. All of these grants go to great people and great community organisations, anything to benefit our community. I just think this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for all groups to take, to get some extra monies, to see their events and to see their facilities grow and prosper. That's it, I just think it's great.
I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.3.3, the effectiveness of Council's Sun Smart Policy, pages 119 to 122. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Farage, second Councillor Truscott. Any speakers or questions? Put the motion. All in favour? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.3.4, pages 123 to 134, Westside Water Park. Move Councillor Farage. Is there a seconder? Councillor Govers. Any speakers or questions? For the motion, all in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.4.1, report on feasibility of one-way street trial in Adelaide Street. Councillor.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to move the alternate motion that I've got here for this one. I'll read it out for you. That Council 1 consult with businesses on Adelaide Street between Kent Street and Alina Street and nearby areas to gauge their interest in Council running a one-way traffic trial in Adelaide Street, Merrigrara. And 2, be provided with a report on the results of this consultation and the estimated cost of running a trial without completing a detailed traffic study, including options to activate the Maryborough CBD using CEPTED principles to create a more welcoming, family-friendly space.
Councillor Sanderson seconding this. Do you wish to speak to this?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a good step in direction for trialling to see if this will work. We brought it up some time ago, and it's great to see it taking this next step in the progress. And I thank Director Naidu and his team for what they've done. And I think by going through this process of getting official consultation or talking with the businesses will be great. Previously, Councillor Sanderson and I have done it ourselves and had no negative feedback. It was either neutral or positive, which is great. But it would be good to get a formal process of that conducted from the businesses, then to see how we can do it through a trial. And in talking with our local police as well, there's good opportunities for the potential design of a one-way street here, about how we can activate that space to make it more family and friendly, and using the crime prevention through environmental design, and to really have people there. Safety is an issue, which is another agenda item later on today, but having people out, there's safety in numbers, which helps as well, and creating an active space in that CBD could be beneficial by looking at this section potentially as being a one-way street. So happy to push this item still and see what happens next.
Any further speakers or questions? Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be speaking against the motion. I am really struggling to understand the motivation behind putting this motion to council. It hasn't been articulated what the reasons will be and what the intended outcomes will be. As far as I look at this motion, it looks to me that it suggests that council spend a significant amount of money on a trial to see whether some outcome may or may not work. That's a big risk to council. We shouldn't be having ratepayers fund experiments. If we were serious about about one-waying this street, then we would put together a serious proposal and we would get it done. We wouldn't be conducting an experiment at significant ratepayer cost. So I won't be supporting it.
Are there any further speakers in favour? Or questions?
Question.
Yeah, question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I apologise, I wasn't at the agenda forum last week. Have we spoken about how much this is going to cost? Just to do the consideration for funding? I mean, that's a substantial amount of work, isn't it? Not?
I'll take the question if you want, Mr Mayor. So the motion before us is to consult with business owners on Adelaide Street. That's the first part. That is fairly straightforward and be undertaken with in-house resources, so I don't see that being a cost impost. The second element is to provide to councils with a report on the results of that consultation and the estimated costs of running a trial. So the council's not resolving today to run a trial. It's directing that consultation occur with business owners and that we provided the council be provided with a report on the outcomes of that consultation and the estimated costs of undertaking a trial without completing a detailed traffic study.
It's not a substantial amount we're talking about. This is like business as usual for our workers to go out and do this?
The consultation, I think, is just be absorbed as part of our normal operating costs.
Thank you.
So we had a speaker against. Do we have a speaker for or a question? Yeah, question, yeah?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. To Director Justine, just in relation to the motion as it reads, will it capture through Devendra's area and yours, where it says activation or that it'll become a more welcoming, family-friendly space, will we capture like designs or placemaking type of things that will give us an idea properly as to how we can do this very well rather than making the street just one way and not doing anything aesthetically?
Mr Mayor, I can answer that. The simple answer is yes, it will. That's what the recommendation seeks and that's what we will provide.
Councillor Chapman?
Mr Mayor, I'd actually like to speak on this motion.
Yeah.
A good scientist would always have an experiment to see if a project's going to work. But I don't feel that this is actually an experiment. This is something that the community of Maryborough have probably been asking for a long time, some sort of a change or something different to make our community in Maryborough a little bit different so people want to draw themselves into there and use the shops. We've got to listen to the community and listen to the business owners, and if that's what the business owners feel that they would like, then what we're asking here is this is to get feedback so we can make a better decision. This is not saying that we're actually doing a trial straight up, but this is to get feedback of what the businesses feel of having a one-way street. You go to different other areas such as Sunshine Coast, where we sat on the Sunshine Coast and had tea one night when we were went on a tour. And one of the things was there, the Director Carlisle was there at the time. And we were talking to Director Carlisle about this because he was the leader of our tour. And we said, wouldn't this be good, the way this is set up? It's calming for traffic. Traffic seems to slow down. People are sitting out at the streets of the restaurants, using the streets. And the interaction where people can actually walk across the street because you only know the traffic's coming one way and it's a lot easier. We actually did it. We walked across the street and we said at the time, how much easier is this when you look at the one to your left and you know that there's no cars coming on the right-hand side. So I really feel that, I think that for the businesses of Maryborough, I think we've got to do something like this for the opportunity. And let's get what the feedback, and I think that's to be a good council, that's what you've got to do, is you've got to work with your public, you've got to work with your businesses, and you've got to look at how this is going to benefit our whole region. And this might be the catalyst that actually turns Maryborough really around, because I've actually seen when the Station Square come in, it drew a lot of businesses out of the Adelaide Street. And I just look at it now that this might be something to draw people back into that region. So, Mr Mayor, I fully will be fully supporting of this, the trial that goes out and the information that comes back for us to make a better decision. Thank you.
And so, I mean, what we're doing today is just about whether or not we speak to the businesses.
Yeah, I didn't say we're doing the trial. I said that we're actually speaking to the businesses. We're collaborating all the information that comes out of the businesses, and then that'll come back to us with a costing of how much it's going to be, and we go from there.
Are there any further speakers against? Okay, question, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is to the director. It says here, without completing a detailed traffic study, and I just wanted to ask your opinion on what risks that poses to council if we do proceed with the trial by committee without a traffic study.
Yeah, thank you for the question, councillor, through the chair. The data we're going to collect from the trial will inform. So it's actually doing a level of assessment through the trial to gather the data, see how the road network and the nodes, which is the intersections, are performing. So when we will bring in the report back, what the cost is to have those monitoring devices and the data capture in the next report. So that we will have some devices in the road network and the intersections to make some observations and monitor how the trial is working. And that will better inform whether we go with the permanent or whether we make further adjustments to the trial.
And I've got one more question, if that's okay. Did we want to try this some years ago, and why did it not happen?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Councillor. So in 2014, there was a report done by GHD. So that was prior to council investing on the CBD verification works. So at that stage, both options were considered, one-way and two-way. I'm not exactly sure the reasoning, but the consultants at the time suggested that due to the grid network, that at that stage it was better to leave it the two-way. And the consultation with the businesses was also that they wanted to retain, majority wanted to retain the two-way at the time. So I think this will be a worthwhile exercise to go and check with the businesses again, 10 years on now, to see if there's appetite for them to change. Yeah.
I just had a quick question about, because I always like to see how accurate things were. This study from 2014 GHD, it predicted what the 2024 traffic would be like. Were they correct?
That's the modelling work we have done, Mr. Mayor. And the data is still coming through with the models to inform us. From my understanding, it is pretty on par with what those predictions were, because they applied the growth factor. So I'm not really sure what the recent growth is, but once we have the model data back with us, which is only a couple of months, I think, we'll have a better understanding of how it's actually comparing with the study that was done in 2014.
So say like these numbers, and it's got all the numbers for Kent and Molina. Some of these are where it says base case. This is if we didn't one-way it, so we really could compare it. What they predicted the traffic could be like in Maryborough CBD with what actually happened.
Yeah, that's based on the model, the results. Yeah, so they're looking at those intersections and those segments, the results. So yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a worthwhile exercise just to look at how the trial's gonna feed and then comparing with the model results. That's one way of looking at it, but we'll bring those detailed information in the next report, Mr. Mayor.
Any further speakers or questions? Councillor Cosgrove?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question probably to the CEO. I'm still struggling because I've learnt that, verbal words said in the passing of emotion are all well and good, but what's actually written is ultimately what really matters. I'm struggling, and if you could help me understand, point 2, I'm struggling with the precision of point 2 in terms of I'm not 100% sure how big or small the body of work we're commissioning actually would be, because I think you could take that very open-endedly and start to look at like all different options for street activation, or you could take it very narrowly. I'm just wondering, what the officers actually do, and how can I be assured that even your verbal assurance back to me is actually what happens?
Like I say, trust me, but I'm not going to be here, but my expectation is that, as I said before, the consultation process is fairly low key in terms of operating costs. Determining an estimate of the cost of undertaking a trial, I don't see being overly onerous on officers. The options to activate the Maryborough CBD using SEPTED principles, I would say that the director and his staff have a full understanding of SEPTED principles and would, before bringing the matter back to council, would workshop with councillors about alternatives and options. So if it's a trial, the SEPTED principles, the extent that you can implement SEPTED principles on a temporary basis are substantially different to those that be done on a permanent basis. So I would expect it to be fairly low key, low intensity in terms of what they might be. But my expectation would be that prior to bringing the report back to council, we would come to a briefing session and talk about that. So everything would be temporary and mobile.
Yeah, Councillor O'Keefe.
My question's to the CEO. Has council in the past spent money on consultants in designing SEPTED areas?
I would have, I'm fairly comfortable that council has engaged consultants to incorporate SEPTED principles in some of the works that it undertakes.
So you can confirm in 2022, where council spent $25,000 on a consultancy on how to maintain and design the esplanade using crime preventative techniques in their design?
I can't remember the exact cost, but I know that we did engage someone to assist us in undertaking SEPTED principles.
Yeah, because
staff have undergone training in SEPTED as well.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking that is because I'm also struggling, like my colleague Lachlan here, with point 2 and how the cost could just continue to grow and grow and grow, because in one respect you're talking about traffic movements, but then you're also talking about crime prevention through environmental design. So I'm just challenged by your answer to Councillor Gover's around the cost.
Yeah, so my expectation is, so if the council was going to move a motion that was going to incur costs, then it wouldn't be a lawful motion under the standing orders. If it's going to change budget priority, if it's going to change budget implications and work priorities, then that's not allowable under standing orders. I do not see us engaging consultants to come up with designs. I see that there's officers within the council who have been trained in SEPTED principles. The production of this report and the engagement with councils will all be done in-house using officer resources. There is nothing in this recommendation that would authorise the expenditure and engagement of a consultant to provide options on to activate Maryborough CBD using SEPTED principles. I have every confidence that our staff are capable, more than capable of doing that.
Councillor Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question, it's potentially to, I'll direct it to the CEO, and if he wants to get one of his directors involved, by all means. I feel like, so we're talking about traffic, we're talking about SEPTED. What we're not talking about, and I think is an area where we would have to use a consultant, in my experience, is activation, which is the most important component in my view. Do we have the internal resources to be able to deliver a plan that uses temporary infrastructure to actually activate the CBD?
Yeah, so I think you're probably taking a broad interpretation, much broader interpretation than what we would be taking as officers in terms of activation. What I understand the intent, and I'll defer to the councillor that moved the motion, my understanding is that they're trying to encourage activation through the closure of through the making Adelaide Street one-way and incorporating into the design, into the trial, features that are consistent with TED principles and that encourage the activation. I don't think that the council is asking for an activation program or a schedule or activities or a detailed analysis on how it can be activated. This is primarily about very simply undertaking a trial of the one-way street in Adelaide, but my understanding is that the councillors didn't just want to put up barricades, they wanted something a little bit more than just barricades in terms of temporary infrastructure during that trial period that encourages the activation. So I think perhaps they're running the danger of trying to pre-guess what the outcomes might be. And I'll say, as I said before, there is nothing in this recommendation that, in my mind, authorises the expenditure on consultants and that this whole matter can be dealt with in-house by staff for such a significant decision in terms of the potential impact on business owners and the wider Maryborough community. There would be, as is our normal practice, engagement with councillors before a report would come to council. So I'm hoping that allays your fears.
I'll speak briefly in favour of it. I think we should look at this. I'll point to people at what the consultation could look like if you go to pages 172 to 174 of the agenda and you see the summary of business owner responses. You can see it was there was not a favourable response last time we asked the question. Quite a few people were adamantly against it. The only of the 33 different businesses and other bodies that were quizzed, the only people who expressed solid support for it last time was St. Paul's Church. Jimmy's line 24 seemed to express some support for it, but that seems, at least in the notes, to be more about their delivery trucks getting better access, whereas there was a lot of opposition to it from the businesses quiz. So you can see there, I mean, Belly Good simply said no good. Other ones said it would, yeah, there was a lot of people who absolutely didn't want it. They thought it would be just, but I think, every now we should look, this is our main street, Adelaide Street. If you go to Gympie, I'm not sure what their main street is called, it's probably Mary Street. I think that's been a success, but I'd like to talk to the business owners themselves. That one-waying of that street has allowed them to have more communal area. There's not more parking, but also you can have areas that can be turned into parklets easier. There's a good sound shell area there in the very centre of Mary Street. I think, one-waying that street has been good for Gympie. It still floods way too easily, that street. So, I know there are shops that are empty from the floods. But, I think we should always be looking at options like this for Adelaide Street, and doing another survey like you can see here at page 172, I think would be valuable to connect with the businesses to see what they think. Councillor Byrne?
I'll be speaking in favour, through the chair. I'll be speaking in favour of this motion. I see this, our CBD growing, and the potential there is massive. The businesses have changed significantly since that last report, and I think this is a perfect step to find out what the businesses would like to see. Not only that, need I remind everybody, we are having an Olympics here shortly, so the more activation that we can have in our CBD, the better. I do believe that activating the CBD statistically proves that antisocial behaviour diminishes as well. The more people we can have in our CBD will be positive for everybody all round. So I think that it would be remiss of us to get bogged down into the weeds at this point. This is a fairly high level guesstimate at what our community might like, with a little bit more intelligence added to the guest side of it. And I think that we need to go back to the community. And clearly, number one points out consulting the businesses. It may be that the businesses that are currently there say, no, we don't want it. But we need to capture that before we go any further. So I think that I'll be voting in favour of this, just for the simple fact that we need to find out. We really need to find out what the business wants and what the community wants. Thank you.
Any further speakers or questions? If not, I'll put the motion. Sorry, Councillor
No,
Truscott.
you're right. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, councillors. I think just to reiterate some of the points there that I've heard, and it is about, getting that official consultation with the businesses, which I think is a great start. And because, yes, they have changed quite a lot over the last 10 years. And this has come from the community, which is why it was first raised. And as Councillor Byrne said, I think Councillor Chapman said it could be a good catalyst for change, and that, seeing that activation in there, and I can understand the concerns of Councillor Cosgrove about seeing activation, but I think the CEO has rightly answered that in that it's not coming up with a whole plan about how it's going to be activated. I think a lot of that will take care of itself in giving businesses opportunity to perhaps expand out into the streets and that, and create more safe spaces for people. And using the SEPTED principles, I think, as well, will be a good way to try and find, with more people there, how we make it safe and that. We heard that the council was going to spend a significant amount of dollars on this trial, but there is no dollars listed in that, so that's simply not the case. And that there's a big risk. I think there's a big risk in not looking into this. I think the fact that we've got an opportunity to investigate it, I think that's our duty, that we should do that, and this will help us to be informed in that manner. I think the first point is helping us to understand the CBD business owners' views on undertaking the one-way traffic trial, and point two is ultimately to facilitate hopefully a cheaper alternative to the actions that were originally proposed. So I think this is a good step forward for the Adelaide Street possible trial.
I'll put the motion on favour. Any opposed? That's carried 9-2.
Mr Mayor, before you proceed, in accordance with section 2110 of the standing orders, the CEO must record a reason for a decision that's substantially different to the officer's recommendation. So the reasons I'm going to record are: one, to understand the Maryborough CBD business owners' views on undertaking a one-way traffic trial on Adelaide Street; two, to remove the need for a detailed traffic management study; three, to be provided with options to make the CBD a more welcome and family-friendly space; and four, to facilitate a cheaper alternative to the actions proposed by the council officers.
Thank you. The next item is item 12.1, which is a request for a report on the possibility of council adopting the native tree Kauri pine as the official arboreal emblem of the Fraser Coast. Is there a seconder for this? Councillor Paul Truscott. I move this motion after many conversations with the late Peter Alds, who championed the recognition of this tree and its connection to our history, our culture, and our natural environment. By requesting a report, then we can make the full decision about this. Symbols matter. Symbols help to collect and inspire our collective identity. And this tree has been at the very heart of Fraser Coast identity for generations. It is a wonderful native species to this area. Originally, it brought a lot of industry here through the timber industry. And in fact, the train manufacturing industry, because the Mary Ann was built in Maryborough as the first locomotive to be built in Queensland to haul Kauri pine. And it is that continuing train manufacturing heritage that has resulted in the Queensland Train Manufacturing Program now at Torban-Lee. So this tree has been very closely associated with the emergence of industry, with our identity, as well as the recognition of the natural environment right through the Great Sandy Straits and Kauri, and as such makes a very fitting arboreal emblem for the entire Fraser Coast. Are there any further speakers or questions? Councillor
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think it's a great idea. I totally support it. Raising the profile of the Kauri pine acknowledges the importance of the pine in the development of our entire region, but it also opens up opportunities for us to highlight how important it is to conserve such an extraordinary tree that can live up to 1,000 years. Is that right, Mr Mayor? Yeah, 1,000 years old. So yeah, support that.
Any further, Councillor Chapman?
Mr Mayor, I'd actually like to speak on this motion also. I think the late Peter Oles had a lot of history on the carry pine, and he actually had a bit large carry pine in his backyard just off Walker Street on the intersection of Walker and Ferry Street. And that tree is still standing, but he used to get little carry pines off that and give them out to people in the community. And I've actually got one of those in my front yard at the moment, and it's growing very well. But I just think that the carry pine has got a lot of history for this region, and as Peter's son Robert, actually, I was talking to a couple of weeks ago, was saying about how the carry pine, they've actually tried to put plantations of it because it's such a fine timber, but there's a beetle that actually gets into it, and actually it will not grow in plantations, but it was known to be spread all over this whole region. And Harvey Bay had a lot. There's still carry pines. There's one up on Mags Hill, up on the top up there, massive big tree. And a lot of that timber, as the history was, it was actually cut down, put into the Mary River, and was actually floated up the Mary River to Dundathu. And that's how the Dundathu sort of got its name, was from the Dundathu sawmill where the carry pine was actually milled back in those days. So I think this is great to have an emblem like this as the carry pine, but it's great to have the remembrance of someone who had dedication towards our region and thought very highly of this timber.
Any further speakers or questions?
Oh, and Mr Mayor, the seats on the very end are actually made out of carry pine timber,
they are
so
too,
if anyone would like to have a look at some beautiful carry pine, the seats on the Mary Ann are actually.
Any further speaker? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. The next item is 12.2, request for consideration of inclusion of the Puna Boat Ramp car park in the 25-26 mid-year budget review. We move Councillor Sanderson. Is there a seconder?
So sorry, Mr Mayor, seeking an amendment to that motion.
Okay, we'll see what then I'll ask for the seconder, yeah?
So just the change was to remove mid-year and replace 25-26 with 26-27 budget process.
Yep. Okay. Is that yeah, seconded, Councillor Chapman? Yep. Do you wish to speak to this?
Briefly, Mr Mayor, just to say that, colleagues, I've spoken about this recently this week. There is a need to definitely look at this as we go into the next budget process. The car park would, I think, strongly be required by the community, so I will be discussing that at that next opportunity. But would appreciate colleague support to get to that point.
Any further speakers? Councillor Chapman?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd actually like to speak on this motion because what it's actually asking here is that I think it's the right of any councillor to have if something they feel in their division is all they were really asking for us to be considered in the upcoming budget. So I think it's an option that as any councillor should look at virtually looking at the words consideration. I think it's the main part of this whole motion. And Councillor Sanderson, I thank you for bringing this motion forward because it is much needed for that little community with the new boat ramp being constructed at the present moment. Thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors.
Councillor O'Keefe?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've just got a question about number 2. So typically what happens is a motion will come to council where we request budget consideration for something. I don't have a problem with point 1, but point 2 seems to be quite prescriptive in terms of dictating next steps before we've even got to step 1. I'm just subject to funding being allocated. I would have thought that there would be a standard operating procedure that you would follow, where if there was funding available, you would apply for it anyway. I don't see the reason for point 2.
If I can respond to that, probably correcting point 2 is now superfluous, given that it's being listed for consideration at 26-27. My understanding that the original motion was to include, was to have it considered in the 25-26 mid-year budget review, which will be be considered at the next council meeting in December. So it was on the understanding that if it was approved as part of that process and adopted in the budget meeting, then we would then look at immediately seeking funding. So look, it's superfluous, but so whether it stays in or doesn't stay in, I think is not of any great concern.
So that won't have an effect on.
Well, we certainly would be making a funding application to the state government until such time as funding's been allocated in the budget.
Councillor O'Keefe.
Could I ask for another amendment that point 2 be removed, just so we keep it nice and tidy and according to process, rather than standard process?
Is that acceptable to you?
Well, probably not, because I think, I'm wanting to, if it was allocated, that the state would partner 50/50.
Are you moving an amendment then?
Sorry, I'm going to have to speak against.
Okay.
Yeah, for the reasons that I've just outlined, I'm pretty sure that there's broad agreement that we're supportive of considering things for budget. So I'm happy to support that, but yeah, point 2 is prescriptive, and so I can't agree with that.
Any further speakers in favour? Any further speakers against or questions? Councillor Sanderson, you have a right of reply.
I'm okay.
Thanks. I'll put the motion. All in favour? All opposed? That's carried 9-2. The next item is 12.3, request to write to the Minister for Police and Emergency Services regarding establishment of a permanent police beat in Maribor CBD. This is slightly amended, you might see on the run sheet. Yeah. Do you want to move out the amendment, then I'll ask for a seconder? Read it out.
Yes, so I'll read the full thing. So the council write to the Honourable Dan Purdy, MP, Minister for Police and Emergency Services, and State Member for Maribor, Mr John Barunas, MP, 1, asking for the establishment of a fully resourced permanent police beat with regular foot patrol presence in the Maribor CBD, and 2, request the Minister's consideration for additional police officers within the Maribor Police District to enhance visible patrols, support proactive policing and improve community safety outcomes.
Seconded, Councillor Sanderson. Do you wish to speak to this?
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. I think we're all well aware of the concerns that have been happening. Community safety is one of the biggest concerns for us, and we're seeing it raised very regularly, hearing incidences happening more and more often, especially in the CBD, and people just want to feel safe when they're shopping, working, or in town just for tourists going for a walk. And I want to make it clear that this isn't criticism of our local police, because they do an outstanding job with the resources that they have, and we're very grateful for the work that they do in Maribor and the entire Fraser Coast. So this motion is simply asking the state for more support, ultimately, for through, if we can, a permanent police beat, fully resourced police beat in the CBD, and just additional officers for the Maribor area. As we've seen here, the police do respond quickly and where they can, but in my discussions with police officers, there just isn't enough of them. So I think it would be good if we could write to the state member and the Minister for Police to see if this is a possibility to help protect the citizens of our CBD and region.
Thank you. So a speaker against? A speaker in favour or questions? Councillor Byrne?
I just have a quick question. Thank you, Mr Chair, Mr Mayor. Just to Councillor Truscott, I'm assuming that when you've put the words in there, fully resourced and consideration for additional police, you're saying that we don't want a police beat there if it's going to take away officers from the existing job roles that they already have. We want additional officers. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes.
Councillor Chapman?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I actually fully support this, as Bundaberg have got a police beat in the centre of their town. And I look at a police beat as just awareness that this office that they could have set up as a police beat could also be like working from home. Is instead of them being around in Lennox Street in their office there, they're showing out in the community, and I think the visual effect of the police being in the area, I think will be very good for the CBD of Maribor. And And I think that just because they're actually working in an office in that area, is getting down to detail now, but they don't only just do the CBD area, they're actually doing their own work also, and it's just an awareness, and I feel that having them out in a police beat, with what they did in the mall in Brisbane is another example. I think it's great for giving people the confidence to be out in the streets, but it also gives the police the opportunity to overlook who's in our communities. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors.
Any further speakers or questions? Councillor O'Keefe?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I've got to say I struggle with this one. I am all in agreement with point 2, which is a request for more police patrols, and I'm open to that. But point 1, I kind of feel there's a little bit of an embarrassing ask, being that the district command, Maryborough District Command, is located on Lennox Street, which is pretty much in the centre of the CBD. I've never seen any police beats be built, within 500 or 600 metres of a major district command office. I think it's a little bit embarrassing actually to request that, so I won't be supporting it.
Any further speakers or questions? Councillor Sanderson?
Mr. Mayor, I'll be speaking for this motion. As colleagues know, I've not only lived in Maryborough my whole life, but have served in the divisional area where the CBD encompasses, and I've seen Maryborough at its best and I've seen Maryborough at its worst. I think Maryborough is in a good place as a city. As a CBD, I think the city is in a good place too, but as we know, these are, and I understand the community's concerns and frustrations about the antisocial behaviour that we've seen. It doesn't reflect the city we know and love. These behaviours don't reflect that, I don't believe. We have a great city, and yeah, for those who know me, you wouldn't find anyone more passionate about our city than me. But as I said, I understand these are challenges that we will work through. We are working through them. Each situation is different and takes time to address, and we are working proactively, as we know, with the state government, with police, with agencies to try and address these issues. And for the motion that Councillor Paul has put forward today allows us to ask the police. Police have been fantastic. We have a great relationship with them. We met just last week with them. They will not tolerate these behaviours that we're seeing, but at the same time, you have to, within the law, respond the way that they do, and they do a great job. But this step allows us to ask for more police presence. There's a fine line between making sure our people and visitors come to our city and feel safe, they feel invited, they feel welcome in those areas, but also having police does allow that people can feel safe and want to go into those areas. So this step allows us to take that. We'll continue to push for other legislative changes where needed. But as a city and region, I think it does help if there is police presence, and done well, would help people continue to be proud of the city we have, continue to invest there, continue to operate business there proudly. And as said, like even earlier, the city, I've even checked that street, there's probably only 2 vacant shop fronts in Adelaide Street alone at the present time. So the city is moving forward. We've got the Olympics, as Michelle has mentioned earlier as well, an Olympic event coming to the city. These steps allow us to proactively address any future issues. So I commend Councillor Paul Truscott for putting this forward.
Councillor Fraser?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be supporting this motion because it puts the legal onus back on the responsible people, and that is the state government. I think council, where they can and where we've been able to, have done a lot to support this issue, and I commend my colleagues that reside in Maryborough for doing their part as well. And I think this really puts a responsibility back on the people that are responsible. And, you know, if our police are saying that they're under-resourced, that's definitely true, because they're under-resourced not just in Maryborough and Harvey Bay but across the state. So I think it's really important that they are resourced properly, and, you know, if we can advocate for that on behalf of our community, then I think that's a great thing. To Councillor O'Keefe's point, where, you know, a police beat may not be the best possible solution, I'm hoping that if that is not the best possible solution, that the Minister can work with the state member and us as well to actually provide an alternative, if that's not the best, because that's their job and they would know better than we would what needs to be done. But yeah, I'll be supporting this motion because we've done the best that we can, and hopefully now the state government can join us in our efforts to make the CBD safe. Thank you.
Councillor Byrne?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll be supporting this motion as well. Like we say, we're in the CBD almost every day of the week working, and there's always a commotion. The police are doing the absolute best they can with the resources that they have, and the reality is that those resources are very, very thin on the ground. If it is the will of the state to say that we don't need a police beat, all well and good, but anything that we can do to support our local QPS in any way, in every town and in any village across Queensland, we should do that. We should put our name to that, and we should be willing to stand up and say our community is in need and we are desperate for some support, and I will personally thank the police officer every time I see them. I know that they're exhausted and they're doing the absolute best that I can. So I think as a council, writing a letter to the Honourable Dan Purdy MP is not going to be a huge impost on us at all, but would certainly show that we think that we need a little more support in our community. Thank you.
Councillor Chapman?
I've got a question. I've already spoken for.
There you go. Let's go.
Okay. It is probably to the CEO that would a safer CBD with a police beat in it encourage more people to visit the area, stay longer, enjoy what Maryborough has to offer?
I think that's a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
I just wondered. I just didn't know if it would.
Okay,
I'm not going to respond to that rhetorical question.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I struggled with this to begin, and I thought, no, I'm not going to support it, but only because of the location of the Maryborough Police Station. It is very central. But at the end of the day, like the Deputy Mayor has just said, this is a state responsibility. Writing to the state and asking them to get on board with this and move forward and give our police more resources to deal with these issues is vital at the moment. So regardless of if they go ahead and they can budget for another location, it's something that needs to be done, and they need to take notice of what we're saying, and I don't think it's going to do any harm to write them the letter to encourage them in that direction.
Councillor Wheeland?
Thanks. Look, I'm definitely in favour of just sending a letter. It's not hard to do. I think it's more than just the police, it's largely the state's remit. All the housing services are a state level business. Alcohol and other drug services also under the state. Mental health services is a health service, which is the state, and of course all the emergency services. But I think we need to send that message that not just in the police, even though this is what this is about, that all those services need investment in Maryborough in this region. So whether it's a police beat or whatever they decide, it's easy for us to support the community and show we are by sending a letter. Thank you.
I'll just see if there's any more speakers. Are there any more speakers or questions? Maybe I'll just ask to the CEO. Well, in terms of police beat, I think the references say there are specific shop fronts that are called police beats.
Yes.
That's my understanding of the motion.
Not necessarily. Well, I think if the council wants a physical location other than in Lennox Street, then probably the description of a police beat is not the most appropriate description. A police beat is about having an assigned territory and then walking that assigned territory, walking that beat. In some cases, in other cities, they've had an assigned territory that is far removed from where their office and headquarters is, so they've set up a mobile or a temporary facility and they have a beat that they walk. Yeah. And in other areas, they have a police beat, but they operate from their headquarters because the beat that they're walking is close to where the officers are permanently stationed. So I didn't see and this is perhaps something that the councillors moved the motion to describe. You know, whilst I'm hearing discussions about the location of I think councillors in their mind see a donga or a building or a structure with police residing in. My understanding of a police beat in the way that it's been done is actually defining a beat, which is an assigned territory, and then walking the beat. Where council, as I said before, where the police have actually put in mobile locations or offices or headquarters or those sort of things is typically when there isn't a station in that beat area.
Yeah, well, I think maybe Councillor Truscott can explain. I presume
So
about police
Acovale-
beat shop front.
Yeah.
So this one you can see it's Ross River Road.
So that's a police
Aikenvale.
beat. So that's a police beat shop front.
Yes.
And in Aikenvale, I'm familiar with Aikenvale.
Yeah.
There is no police station in Aikenvale.
Yeah.
So they may have a police beat in Mundingborough, and there is a station there. They have a police beat in the CBD of Townsville, and they have a station there, but they don't go in, as in a police station. They don't go and create a donga or a physical location. I interpreted the motion, I'm going to defer to the councillor, is that the motion about a police beat was more about having an assigned territory and regular foot patrols, police walking the beat and being visible and present, as opposed to actually setting up a structure in the CBD.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Would you like me to reply in my right of reply?
Well, maybe just answer that question first so we all understand, because maybe there'll be more questions that arise from that. So your answer to this, yeah.
Look, ultimately, this doesn't specify a location. It says in the Maryborough CBD as well, as point one of the request. And yes, because in some cases, a police beat is part of a police station as well. So when we suggest, there's one in Lennox Street, why Adelaide Street? Well, it doesn't say Adelaide Street. That's just where everyone's envisaging. But there are other places where they have a police beat almost next door to the police station, or even at the police station. So I think, it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical thing, but perhaps about, as the CEO described, about being visible and present. But if they would like to establish a physical presence, I'm not going to say no to that.
Any questions on that? So in terms of the letter, we wouldn't be asking for a police beat shop front then?
We wouldn't be asking for a police beat shop front, Mr Mayor, because that's not what the resolution is. We're asking for a police beat. And the police can interpret that. My expectation that the police will interpret that as having an assigned area, an assigned beat, and walking that beat. And if the police decide they need a physical building other than Lennox Street, well, I think that's entirely a matter for the police. I don't think the resolution is specifically asking for a building to be constructed somewhere in the CBD to house police. I think the main focus of the resolution, and Councillor can correct me if I'm wrong, is about having an assigned territory in Maryborough CBD where police have a visible presence and are regularly walking the beat to deter antisocial and criminal behaviour.
Okay, we've just got it. That's
Yes, that's fine with me, yeah.
okay. Councillor Chapman?
I just ask for the interpretation of a police beat, Mr Mayor, for clarification here. And it says a police beat is a small permanent police office located within the community, often in business areas like a CBD, shopping centre or neighbourhood. It is staffed by uniformed police officers who work directly with local communities. Key features of a police beat: visible police presence in the area, walk-in access for the public to report incidents and seek advice, dedicated officers who get to know the local people, businesses and issues, base for patrols on foot, bike or vehicle within the local area.
Yeah, that's the police beat shop front stuff.
So thank you for your ChatGPT response. And you need to be careful when you use ChatGPT or AI as your point of reference, because it may be referencing other countries. So I'm not quite sure what the source of reference is, but in Queensland, my understanding, you have police beats and you have police beat shop fronts, and there's a significant difference.
Councillor O'Keefe, then Councillor Govers.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Noting that the CEO doesn't have extensive experience in policing, and neither do any of us councillors. Looking at point 1, is the proponent open to a friendly amendment that would seek to keep point 2, and due to the confusion around point 1, just remove point 1, because I'd be happy to support more police officers on the beat, but I just think point 1 is very confusing. We're way out of our lane here, and I wouldn't be happy to have that on a letter from the Mayor.
I appreciate the offer, but no.
And Mr Mayor, if I can just respond, I don't think it's a matter of whether you have policing experience. The council has made it very clear what the intention is, and we can capture that and make it very clear in our letter to the minister that we're not seeking. No, we can make it. It is very clear. The council has specifically said that he's not specifically asking for a physical structure. He's asking for a police beat, and he's provided what he's interpreted as a police beat, an assigned territory that is regularly patrolled to deter antisocial behaviour and prevent criminal behaviour. We'll make it very clear, because it's been clarified by the councillor, that when to the minister, that we're not asking for them to set up a physical police beat shopfront, but to establish a beat. So we'll make sure that we draw that distinction if this resolution is passed.
Councillor Govers, then Councillor Cosgrove.
Thank you through the chair. That's exactly what I was going to ask. If maybe we should specify that we're asking for a beat and not a shop front.
Yes.
And just specify that, and then they know that we want the feet on the ground doing the beating.
Whoa. Okay, Councillor Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr Chair, noting that Councillor Truscott hasn't had his right of reply yet, and I haven't spoken yet, so I can speak in favour of the motion, but just to disagree with the CEO's interpretation. I think the ordinary person thinks of a police beat as a shop front, plain and simple. That's what I think of. We've all said it is a shop front, but I don't see the issue with asking for a shop front. They can just say, no, we're going to do this, this and this. I think point 2 is more important in the thing, but I think we're kidding ourselves if we think the general public or any ordinary reader of point 1 reads that and sees a police beat. Like, I can literally see one in my head. Sometimes they're just a thing in a shopping centre, like a stall in a shopping centre. Sometimes they're a shop front. I think we're kidding ourselves on that interpretation. Very supportive. We need more support from the police. I think the biggest one is we need more police. The police that we have do a great job. But yeah, just because I usually just get in and speak straight away, I thought I'd use my opportunity to disagree with the CEO's interpretation. He can hold it against me for the next 2 days. But in saying that, even with that interpretation, I don't think there's an issue putting that to the police minister and him saying, no, we're not going to put a shop front in Adelaide Street. That's my 2 bobs. I'll be supporting the motion.
All right, any further speakers or questions? Councillor Truscott has a right of reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And look, I appreciate the wanting to get clarification around it. And yes, I mean, police walking the beat is a thing, and the police beat having a shop front is a thing. And I think by putting it to the police saying we would like a police beat, even letting them take that as their interpretation of it, but that we would like the regular foot patrols mentioned in that, I think is a very important part of it, because that's what the community are asking for, about the visibility and presence of the police, that, as we all know, we get regularly asked about whether we as council will provide street safe security officers. That's not what council does. Street safe security officers, they have a name, they're called police officers. And that's why I'm saying we need to ask for a police beat with the regular foot patrols and more police, and to be fully resourced in the station, to be out there, visible and present. And this is, police are the only people with power and authority to be able to act on antisocial human behaviour. And it's an issue that we keep getting targeted with, but that we can't deal with, which is very difficult and frustrating to explain to people where our responsibility is and where the police's is. And so hopefully something like this, and if they are able to respond to the police minister in a positive way, hopefully we will see an improvement there.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. Move Councillor Truscott, seconded Councillor Sanderson. All in favour? All opposed? That's carried 110. The next item is 12.4, pages 191. Request for a verbal report on the works and estimated completion date of the children's area at the Maryborough Aquatic Centre. Is there a seconder for this? Second, Councillor Whelan.
Do you want me to say it? Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Originally, I thought this was just going to be as a question. I didn't realise it had to be a motion, but to ask through the director for an update on what's happening with the Maryborough Aquatic Centre children's play area, to get some news on that, so it's on the record for people about what's happening, what exciting news you have to share with us.
Thanks. And don't answer until we pass the motion.
Oh, okay, right.
Because maybe we should look at our standing orders to have a question time, although you might not want that question time. Okay, so does everybody understand? We're moving this motion so the acting director can provide an answer.
Yes.
Yeah. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the request. And through the chair, I'm very pleased to advise that we have commenced works at the Maryborough Aquatic Centre. Work underway already is surface rubber demolition and repair. Tomorrow we will commence concreting, landscaping and furniture installation. From the 1st of December, and we are aiming to complete that on the same day, will be the water play plumbing and repair. And then from the 2nd to the 10th of December, we will be commissioning the water play area. We are planning an opening celebration. I'd like to reserve the right to defer the date of that until we get clarity on some of the commissioning of these items. But we do anticipate that will be somewhere towards the middle or third week in December.
Is there any table tennis?
Yes, there will be table tennis. Yes, that's very exciting. I'm really pleased that we've been able to provide that.
Thank you, Derek.
Any further questions on this? No, it'll be very, very good. It's been missing for a little while.
Yes.
Yeah, I think people will be very happy to have it back. All right, the next item is 12.5, request for verbal report on playground shade cloth shelter placement at Pines Park, better known as Purple Park, including estimated completion timeline. This move, Councillor Cosgrove. Second, Councillor Farage.
Mr. Mayor, can I just briefly flag? So I'm going to bring up a general business item about questions on notice because there's a peculiarity that hasn't allowed myself or Councillor Truscott to actually list something as a question on notice. That's why these are motions. So I will be raising something in general business to try to have that dealt with because it's a bit clunky that we have to pass a motion to get a verbal report. It should just be a question on notice.
I mean, you could do it by asking a question in, say, the performance report and the director taking it on notice, and then they'll bring it to the next meeting. Like, you can ask any question in the performance.
But even that's clunky. I think then it's not recorded in the minutes.
Yeah.
You actually want your question on notice recorded in the minutes. It needs to either be a question on notice.
It'll just be the question, it won't be the answer. It's recorded in the minutes.
That's right.
Yeah. You want the question recorded in the minutes. Yeah, okay. Okay, so the seconder is Councillor Farage. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
No.
Okay, I'll put Councillor O'Keefe.
I've got a process question.
Yep.
So, are we allowing questions?
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause it's a
Is
motion.
it after
No,
the
so
answer?
if this motion passes, we'll be provided with a verbal report and you can ask questions on that verbal report. Okay, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. It's reported. Oh, it's Vendors. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, and provide you with
Yeah, totally.
Okay, the question's been taken on notice.
Okay.
Councillor O'Keefe's got a follow-up question. Yeah.
Okay, so if the question's taken on notice, can I add another question?
Yeah, he'll take it on, unless you can answer it.
So it talks about the replacement of the shade cloth shelter cover. Now, is consideration being given to the colour choice this time? In terms of making it so that it blends in more with the environment, because the shade structure that was on the structure before was fluoro orange and fluoro green, and it was visible from Pelican Banks, and so it was quite an eyesore from the ocean and from the beach looking back. So is there any way that we can make sure that cloth is green or grey or, you know, a colour that doesn't stick out like that?
Thanks for the question, Colonel. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll take that question on notice as well, because I don't have any information on the details that the councillor is asking for. I'm happy to distribute a briefing note, providing councillors an update on that question.
Okay. Any further questions on this? We've got the questions. Yep, okay. Item 12.6, request for enhanced Salvina molesta management drainage reserve inspections. It's page 193. Is there a seconder for this? Councillor Byrne, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, you know, we have a whole heap, overwhelming amount of biosecurity issues, and we've got a small, hard-working team that do their absolute best with the resources they have on a range of issues, not just Salvinia. I also just wanted to note verbally that the motion has put 1 and 2 are broad and are not specific to Eli Waters. So this is about the whole program of Salvinia molesta treatment, and I thank Councillor Byrne for raising with me that she has issues certainly in her division, and I'm sure other councillors do as well. Point 3 is specific to Eli Waters because, you know, relying on long-term local knowledge is always a good thing to do in terms of people who have had systems that have been brackish in the past, which would kill Salvinia, have seen Salvinia growing, which means potentially there's blockages, maybe not, but it's worth investigating. All these are ultimately if we don't have a program specifically for point 3, but the other points as well, are just to get our experts to tell us where they could use more resources, which is point 2, and list it for consideration in the next budget process, and whether that's just spraying more often with the drones. I don't know how many more weevils we can tip into the system, and I would ask the CEO in his reason, when he records the reason, just to add a line that this is about the entire regional Salvinia molesta program, but with the specific point about Eli Waters, particularly that whether there's any blockages in the systems that should be connected to tidal flows that could actually be the cheapest way to fix this. But look, commend the team, Andrew and Amber, Max and Devendra as well, for the ongoing works that we do have. It's a hell of a weed, it grows so fast. The weevils are great, the drone spraying's been a great step forward. I just want us to essentially focus our minds onto whether we can do more, noting that the briefing note we received recently sort of ruled out mechanical inspection, and I don't suggest that we buy the plant at all because I don't think that's a wise investment. But if there is a contractor who could potentially do some type of manual or mechanical removal, and that helps, that should also be considered in this process. So yeah, thank you to the residents who've raised it. It's a bit of a perennial issue. It's a hell of a weed, as I said, that affects the water bodies often in Eli Waters, and just looking to see if we can redouble our efforts that are already taking place to arrest the growth of the weed in a more timely fashion.
Are there any further speakers or questions? Councillor Govers.
Thank you through the chair. I'd like to commend Councillor Cosgrove on the detail he's just given. It's absolutely correct. I agree, I've had an increase in emails on this matter, so I think it'd be worthwhile to look at increasing the frequencies to address it and investigate further. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Byrne?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was beyond chuffed to see Councillor Lachlan Cosgrove bring this up, because as I said, we all know Salvinia is an absolute nightmare in our waterways, and I was a little concerned at first that it was specific around earlobe waters and the use of lakes and things like that, but having discussed a little bit further with Councillor Cosgrove that his intent was to take in all of the waterways and all of the creeks, I would also like to commend our biosecurity team that they're working above and beyond. I'd also like to commend the agricultural and primary producers in my region that do a fantastic job of keeping it under control wherever possible. The issue is with their neighbouring properties who aren't as efficient, and I think that we do need to up some sort of spraying. The weevils have been great. I know plenty of people that have taken the weevils and they're working on smaller water bodies, but in some areas where it's just so choked up, I think we need to go a little bit next level on that, and I think it definitely warrants some further investigation. So thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. I'll be supporting it.
Councillor Cosgrove?
Can I just ask a question, just to be clear, just off the back of Councillor Byrne's remarks to Director Naidoo? Is it the case that people who have a private water body that has a salvinia issue, they can go and get weevils to introduce into that system?
Thanks for the question, Councillor, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, my understanding is they can go and purchase that. You know, I know Brisbane City Council breeds them and they sell it.
And so the avenue for that would be...
That's where we purchase ours from, so.
Yeah, and so the avenue for that would be probably call council customer service and they can put you in touch with our breeding facility or whatever it is. Cool, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All in favour? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Next item is 12.7. Councillor Farage is leaving the room. Request for relocation of December council meeting to Harvey Bay. Is there a seconder for this? Councillor Cosgrove? Councillor Truscott?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I hope this one is fairly self-explanatory, just that it's been raised several times about, because the Torquay Caravan Park issue will be on next month's agenda, that there's going to probably be a big turnout for it, and this venue can take more than the Maryborough Chambers can, so seeking to move the location.
Any speakers or questions? Councillor Byrne?
I think this will be through this to the CEO. The December meeting, we are only receiving a report, are we not? We're not voting on anything to do with that? I'm not asking you, sorry, Councillor Chapman, I'm asking the CEO.
So my expectation is, I'll have to go back to the original resolution on the outstanding order, so if you just give me 1 second, I just to call up the outstanding open resolutions register. So the decision of council in February 25 was to resume the redevelopment of the Public Caravan Park, utilising the current design, endorse the development of concept layout plans for Torquay Caravan Park based on 2 options outlined in the report, and there's some minor changes, and authorise the CEO to further engage with councillors to develop a community consultation program and undertake the community consultation and provide with a further report on the outcomes of the community consultation. So my expectation, again, I won't be here for a December meeting, but my expectation is that there will be a report on the outcomes of the community consultation and a recommendation from staff in relation to the future of the Torquay foreshore.
So it won't be just about receiving and noting the report for further thought, we will be actually voting in December?
We'll be seeking the council to make a determination about the future of the Torquay foreshore and whether or not the council proceeds with the redevelopment of the Torquay Caravan Park, or pursue one of the alternate options, which is open space or embellished open space.
Thank you.
Any further speakers or questions? Councillor Cosgrove?
Thank you, Mr Chair. Yeah, I'll speak in favour of the motion, and I thank Councillor Truscott for bringing it. I had a look back in June 24 when we discussed moving the meeting for the Sheraton, and I note that Councillor Truscott took a different view on that occasion, but I do believe that it is the case that when you're making decisions that affect the Hervey Bay Esplanade, the first and foremost stakeholder is the people of Hervey Bay, and we should hold meetings that relate to when they're very, poignant for a specific group of people within our region, that they should be prioritised in terms of their access to that. So, ultimately, first and foremost in my mind, the Esplanade is a livability and tourism asset for Hervey Bay and then the broader Fraser Coast. And so it is, I think, appropriate that we, noting that we aren't just receiving and noting, that it is appropriate that we hold that meeting in Hervey Bay in December.
Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried 8-2. Could we get the Deputy Mayor back in? Item 13, there's nothing on the agenda for questions on notice, but there will be at the next meeting. General business. I wanted to start general business by noting that it is our CEO's very last council meeting after decades in service in different councils. Many decades. And I want to thank Ken for all the work he's done for our community in so many different circumstances. I have been able to we've all been able to rely on Ken's professionalism, his integrity, his diligence, his hard work, his compassion, his empathy, his skills, and his, public service in whether it is the flooding, whether it is the art galleries, the libraries, the work of our staff from librarians to HR to human resources. Ken has been a very good role model for the entire organization and helped us to achieve our goals. I was on the selection panel 8 years ago when we made a very good decision in hiring Ken. I remember him saying what his personal motto was. He was the first person I've ever come across who has a personal motto, isn't afraid of sharing it, and his is to make a difference in the lives of the communities I serve and in the lives of the people I work with. That is what Ken tells people, and it's what he lives in daily and throughout his very distinguished career. So I want to thank Ken for everything you've done for the Fraser Coast. You've made your home here. You've dedicated the best years of your life here. You brought your family here. You've contributed in so many different ways, whether it is, chairing the council of the Rankin State High School to, helping the Seagulls, everything. You've been you have been, and I'm sure you'll continue to be a real great asset to our community. In my role, I've really valued, everything you brought, and I know everyone else has too. So congratulations on your retirement. You leave very, very big shoes to fill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to add to George's words, just to thank you for everything that you've done, for your frank and fearless advice, and for just shooting straight down the line, like many of us around this table appreciate. It's been really, really good to work with you, and I'm really glad that you are choosing to continue to make Fraser Coast your home, because no doubt, all of us at some point in time will bump into you. And it's really nice, all of the contributions that you've made to the Fraser Coast, both before my time as a councillor and also during our time working together, and it's really appreciated. And including, your great sense of humour, and sometimes when it's been a really tough day, we've always all been able to rely on you for advice or just someone to vent to, which is really important. And I look forward to the next chapter of the Fraser Coast. Definitely, Micah definitely has big shoes to fill, but no doubt she will do a great job. And we look forward to seeing you around town still.
Okay. In a world that's gone mad, One thing about, all this nonsense that goes on with non-common sense, you've been very common sense, logical, balanced person, and I've absolutely appreciated that. And as we said along, big shoes to fill, and I'll miss you.
Mr Mayor, I'll speak on that. But I actually prepared something, I'll try and be quick, because I know everyone...
No, on ChatGPT.
No, I didn't. But I just said, I'll say, Ken, like, you've been a tremendous leader, person, chief executive and a friend, but your integrity often speaks louder than the words you speak, and your honesty, boldness and courage is to be admired, and your willingness to never back down when you believe in something, no matter the situation, is to be commended. Over the past, I think it's been 8 years, I've seen you handle life's difficult circumstances, seeing you show what a great father and grandfather can do, and what a strong and courageous leader for our region can do as well. You balance work and life balance exceptionally well, and you have always put your family first, which is to be admired by any of us here, and I'm sure people out in the community as well. You walk beside people instead of speaking at people. You genuinely care about people, and you often always put others before yourself. The greatest of all is the servant of all, and you show this through the way you lead, and that it isn't about yourself but for others in everything you do. Your mission and legacy, which I always remember, is to leave the community in which you live, to make a positive difference in the community in which you live. You have done this in a massive way, and you will, I believe, you'll be remembered as probably one of the best CEOs we've ever had in our region. So it's been an honour and privilege to walk alongside you, be mentored by you, and actually call you a friend. Ken, well done. Thank you, and all the best to you and your family for the next season of life and what it will bring for you.
Thanks, Steve.
Well done.
I think this could really be a round the table thing. But anyway, I'd just like to thank you, Ken, for your leadership. To me, it's been a little bit more than guidance. You've been steady, firm but fair with me, which I really do appreciate. And your presence and your dedication, your integrity, your passion for our community, it will leave a lasting mark for generations to come, I'm sure. I know that I've benefited from your sometimes wise, mostly wise, but calm approach, that's for sure. And I admire the genuine care that you show for myself and my colleagues and all of the Fraser Coast. I just want to wish you the best stepping into your retirement, and because I know that this next part of your life hopefully will bring some relaxation and some very precious time with your family. So I just would like to let you know how deeply I've appreciated your presence and your guidance over the last couple of years. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
I'll go next. Wow, Ken, you're such a straight shooter, and I've just loved every minute of it. Allowing us to vent when we've needed it, guiding us in directions when we first came on board. We had no idea of some of the things that we were getting ourselves into. 21-storey building straight up and how to deal with that. I wish you well in your future. I hope you enjoy as much spam as you can get.
Thank you.
Ken?
Oh, you go, mate.
Yeah. Look, I remember the first day when you actually walked through the door. This council was really in turmoil, and your leadership has actually turned this council around. And some of the projects that this council's taken on, like the new library and the new admin building, and they're big projects, and you couldn't do it all on your own. You had a team behind you. And I actually went into those Hinkler meetings, and I watched the way that you worked and the way that you questioned your team, and to get the best results and to keep the project on. I know there was one stage there is with funding and different things and the turmoils that we had on the project. But the way that you settled that project and turned it around and asked the questions were right to the point. And I must say that your leadership has been something that I've actually valued. Ken, I don't look at you really as the CEO. I look at you as a mate. I look at you as a friend, and that's the way that I sort of seen how you've worked. But I've also looked at how you actually engage with councillors, you engage with your directors who work under you, and also the staff. And I like the way that you have a little bit of humour with what you do, but there's always a seriousness. But one thing I do like about your character when you were as the CEO is here, but you ain't got another 2 days of it, and your job isn't finished yet because we've just got to work out what a police beat really is between you and I. So you've got 2 days to sort that one out. But other than that, as I always liked is, I've got if I had an issue or something, I could always just get on the mobile phone and ring you. And I knew that if you took a message, I knew that call would come back as soon as you were free. And I know you've been a very busy man. And I'm a man of little words, so I'd really like to put it there. But Ken, thank you very much for the time, and thank you very much for what you passed on to my growing as a person also. And you have had tough times with this community, with some people in this community. There was many emails, we've gone backwards and forwards. And I just like the way that you just took them on the chin and moved forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis. Okay. Look, I just want to say thanks, coming in with no idea what this position entailed. As someone who generally calls a spade, you've, as the ongoing joke early on, you've kept us out of jail, and also on the right side, taught me how to speak in these situations, which is a skill that I will carry on probably for the rest of my life when I'm in any kind of formal setting. Really appreciate, just the guidance that you give. As Dennis said, you always answer the phone or you always get a call back, even if it's out of hours. What your legacy is really is not only a stable council, but one that's moving forward in leaps and bounds, and a region that more people than anywhere else want to live. So I think that's shaped by council, but it's also shaped by the team, and you're the leader of that team. So, and just, I guess the biggest compliment I could give is that even though you're a career bureaucrat, I'd still like to have a beer with you at the pub. Thanks, Stuart.
Yep.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Ken, for your service to local government more broadly, not just from our region as well. You've had a very successful career. I will miss the energy that you bring to conversations. Every time you walk into the room, you bring an energy. I will miss the high level of engagement that you've always shown in every single discussion. Your frank and fearless advice. I've really appreciated working with you. I've learnt a lot from you, and you have guaranteed me that you are not going to retire into activism, but I'm sure that you will be, and that is great, but I'm sure that you will be an active citizen. I know that you love the region that you live in very much, and now it's time for you to enjoy that region. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Ange. Ken, thank you for your service to local government and specifically here in the Fraser Coast in the last 8 years. You've been invaluable to me. I probably think I'm one of the more squeaky wheels sometimes, and I think something that people should not underestimate is dealing with 11 massive egos of councillors and how you balance. 10 massive egos and me. So look, it's a difficult line to walk, and you do it so well. If there was any way to test one's true feelings about someone, it's buying a pay-per-view of a boxing match, putting it up on the screen here and joining a couple of select colleagues, and I was really concerned when you got knocked down. Like I genuinely didn't like seeing you getting potentially hurt, but I think the fact that you pursued the Masters boxing title when you did, being a great boxer from way back, just shows that supreme type A personality, extreme type A personality, which is such a valuable asset for a CEO, which is, by far one of the most difficult jobs that you could take on. So, I've really appreciated your candour, your frank advice, but also I think you've instilled in me that if you're doing your job well, whether it's on the executive side or as a councillor, you aren't just paying attention to the wants of now or your own political fortunes, but doing what is right for the future of the region, and that has stuck with me. It has certainly imprinted on me and how I behave, because there's far more important things than our jobs or our political futures. You tell a good story about one of your former colleagues and a mayor who essentially sacrificed himself for the greater good, and I think as an elected official that's really important. But lastly, I just wanted to touch on the man that you are. Nicola, my partner, is blown away being your Facebook friend. She's like, can we adopt him as a quasi granddad to Alfie, because you are so involved. You're such a great role model for those boys. You're always doing big bike rides and the like, and it's just phenomenal to see. And how you balance that with such a demanding job as well has been just phenomenal. So you're the consummate professional. You're an amazing mentor and giver of advice, and you give frank and fearless advice, sometimes too frank, but you're just so appreciated. You're a great bloke, and I wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah. I guess being at the end, a lot of things have already been said, but to echo those things, and I wanted to start. I found two quotes from the late Reverend Billy Graham that I wanted to share. First was, when wealth is lost, nothing is lost. When health is lost, something is lost. When character is lost, all is lost. But then to back that up with integrity means that we are trustworthy, dependable, and our character is above reproach. And you are all of those characteristics. You are trustworthy, you are dependable, and you are above reproach. And I think that that's been one of the biggest things about you that has stood out for me. It's something that means the most to me about people's character, is their integrity. And there is absolutely no questioning of your integrity and character. And I just want to tell you how great an example you are in that. You treat everybody with respect, no matter what position they are, no matter where you go, and that's just beautiful to see. You are a great example, you're a great leader, you're a great teacher. You've taught us all, can you help me understand? You have left big shoes to fill, there is no doubt, and I do love the common sense approach that you have. You are a fun person to be around, and you are appreciated. And I thought maybe now's a good time we can put on public record about the time we got to play with fireworks in China.
No.
Okay. Believe me. You are appreciated, Ken, and you will be greatly missed.
Thank you. If that's okay, I'd like to say a few words. I've actually had to write my words down because this is a really emotional time for me. It's not just the end of my time as a CEO at Fraser Coast Regional Council, but it's also the end of essentially my career, where I've always aspired to take on a senior leadership position. So firstly, thank you for your kind words. I do feel truly blessed to have had the opportunity to serve this council and our community over the past 8.5 years. My decision to step down has not been an easy one, but I think it's the right one for the council, for the organisation, and for me personally. Even though my contract was extended as CEO was extended to July 2026, given the departures of our senior leadership group, I thought it was important for the council to appoint a new CEO early and provide that new CEO with the opportunity to help shape their own executive leadership team. I'm deeply grateful to the council for offering me the opportunity to continue in a senior project role. However, after some recent health challenges, I've come to realise now that I need to focus fully on my health and my family. A few months ago, I began experiencing symptoms that led me to seek medical advice. And last week, I was diagnosed with high-volume prostate cancer. I'll shortly be undertaking urgent treatment, and while I remain confident and optimistic, it's unlikely at this stage that I'll be able to return to work. This diagnosis has given me cause to pause and reflect. Over my 40 years in local government, my wife, children and grandchildren have made countless sacrifices so I could serve my community. Now it's my turn to give back to them, to offer the time, presence and love they've always given me. Looking back, I feel nothing but gratitude to our Mayor and councillors. Thank you for your confidence, your trust and your unwavering support. Leading this organisation has been an enormous privilege and has only been possible because of our shared commitment to building better communities together. I want to acknowledge my executive assistant, Peter McDonald. He's not in this room, but I'm sure he's watching. Peter, your professionalism, loyalty and good humour have been a constant source of strength, often through challenging times. Thank you sincerely for all that you've done for me. And to the incredible staff of the Fraser Coast Regional Council, you're the heart and soul of the organisation. Every success we have achieved belongs to you. Together, over the last 8.5 years, we've built more than $1 billion worth of assets, around 750 kilometres of roads, 55 kilometres of footpaths, 71 kilometres of stormwater pipes, and around 330 kilometres of water and sewage mains. We've also planted 100,000 new trees, creating a greener, more livable community for the future. We've maintained over $5 billion in infrastructure, caring for more than 100 million square metres of parkland and open space. The spaces where community gathers, plays and connects. We've approved more than 8,000 development applications and handled close to 1 million customer service requests and inquiries, each one an opportunity to make someone's day a little better. We've reduced borrowings to the lowest level in decades and delivered balanced, responsible budgets year after year. We've helped grow visitation to our region, secured regular flights to Sydney and Melbourne, and won numerous state and national awards that recognise the excellence of our people. And perhaps most importantly, we've built a culture that's stronger, more collaborative, and more values-driven than ever before. And that, for me, is the true measure of success. These achievements aren't mine. They belong to every single person across this organisation, the people, the staff that we have in this room. Those who plan, build, serve, maintain and lead and care. It's their dedication and professionalism, belief in the potential of this region that have made all the difference. Over the last 8.5 years, my wife and I have fallen in love with this region and its people, and we now proudly call the Fraser Coast our forever home. I may not know exactly what retirement will look like, although I suspect it will involve a long list of jobs that my wife is already putting on the fridge. But I do know that I will continue to find ways to contribute to this community, just in a different way that I am now. As I close this chapter in my career, one truth has become clearer than ever. The measure of our lives isn't found in the titles we hold or the goals we achieve, but the relationships we build and the love we share with those who matter most. It's now time for me to give back to those who matter most in my life. Thank you all. Thank you for your support, your friendship, and for allowing me the immense honour of serving this wonderful community and council. It has truly been one of the greatest privileges of my life. Thank you.
I'll move that council stand to acknowledge and thank outgoing Chief Executive Officer Ken Deem for his years of dedicated service to the Fraser Coast Regional Council and the Fraser Coast community, and extend our sincere appreciation for all of his efforts, along with our best regards to him and his family for the future. Second, Councillor Paul Truscott. All in favour? Opposed? That's carried. Oh, no. Oh, yes, just a second. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Cheers. Thank you. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
I'll move that we adjourn until 1 o'clock. All in favour? Because that's carried unanimously.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those words.
You're very well to respond.
You don't realise how much they mean to me.
So lunch has arrived.
Don't want to see that video.
Whatever you feel there.
The hard bit was doing that, was talking about the thing.
Yeah.
It was,
We're not finished yet, though.
It's on the airport stuff.
yeah.
They did it.
No, you said nice.